right, so we are going to solve some application problems. It says, assuming you need to rent a car for 2 days and drive it 60 miles, which rent-a-car company is better? So the first thing we have to do is figure out, we're going to call Drive Far Rent-A-Car D, and we're going to call Burt's Rent-A-Car B as in Bob. So assuming that you know which one is the start and which one is the step, that's way back to Algebra 1. So there may be cobwebs in there that you have to kind of flesh out, because to write an equation you have to know, if it's in slope-intercept form, what the slope is, we called it rate, and what the start is, that is the y-intercept. So assuming you need to rent a car for 2 days, what price is set for Drive Rent-A-Car? What is it? The 50. So in Drive, we know that our $50 is our y-intercept, because to have that car for 2 days and never move it is a set starting price of $50. Now, how do I calculate driving it for 60 miles? How do I figure out how much that is? Good. So I have a rate or a slope of 10 cents for 60 miles. So what is my cost for driving this particular vehicle for 2 days? I heard it. What was it? $56. So right now for 2 days, the Drive company is sitting at $56. So what's going to happen to the Burt's company? What is their start price or set price for 2 days? Good, $20. And then what is their rate or step, as we called it in Algebra 1? .40 times 60 miles gives us $44. Now, what did Riley read us? She said, which company is better? So which one would you choose as of right now? Definitely Burt's, right? What if you plan to drive 300 miles in 2 days? What would change about D? What would 60 change to? Good. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then in B, what would change? Bless you. Again, it's the same, and Celine is perfectly correct. You would change the 60s in both of them to the new distance of 300 miles. Drive would, bless you, Drive would now raise to $80. Did y'all get a crazy number for Burt's? What did you all get? 140, which is crazy amount higher than Drive Rent-A-Car. So if you planned 300 miles in 2 days, you would switch companies, wouldn't you? So you'd have to pay attention to what you were doing. Was it a far distance, a close distance? What was your goal for renting the car? Now it says write an equation to represent each company's price policy in slope-intercept form. So the first one, Y would be my total cost. It would be 10 cents per mile plus my set $50 2-day fee. If it was set for 2 days, okay, that's what you have to remember, that this was 2-day rentals. Because what would change depending on how many days that you rented them? Right, your starting fee, perfect. And Y sub 2 here would have been 0.40, X being the miles you drive, plus $20 for a 2-day rental. Now, let's take these equations and write them for a 1-day rental. How would that change if it was a 1-day rental? Good. The y-intercept would be half of that for y1, and y2 would be half of 20, which is 10. It said find where these two companies have a break-even point for renting for 1 day. Now, if you don't want to use your graphing calculator, what method that we studied last week could you use when they're both equal to y? What's the name of it? You guys remember? When you take something out and put something else in its place? There you go, substitution. You could, of course, use your graphing calculator, graph it, and find the intersection point also. So at 50 miles, what should happen to these two rental car companies? If it's a break-even point, Dylan, what do you think happens at 50 miles? Okay, so if I test that, 10 cents times 50 miles plus $25 a day, that gave me $30 for a 1-day rental, and 40 cents times 50 miles plus $10 for 1 day. Sure enough, that is the break-even point because both of the y's are equivalent. Now, the application question is, at what amount of miles per day does one company become better than the other? If 50 makes them even, at what mileage does one company become better than the other? 51 miles, good. And most companies round to the nearest mile. So if you've gone past the 50 and it's 50.2, they would automatically make you pay for 51. All right, so you guys are going to do the manufacturing question. Let's jump over to different ways you might see these questions come up on a standardized test or an assessment of mind. Find the value of two numbers if their sum is 12 and their difference is 4. So first you have to say x is one number and y equals another number. So if you're going to find the value of two numbers that sum to be 12, what would you do with the two x and, or one x and one y? What would you do with them? Bless you. You would sum them. And what would you do to find their difference of 4? Subtract them. Good, Selena. Now, what method is fastest when it's in standard form? Do you remember the name of it? Elimination. Good job. So, are we set up to go ahead and do elimination without even adjusting either equation? What do you think, Hannah R? The y's will cancel. So we have eliminated the y's. We have a 1x plus a 1x is 2x equals 16. Divide by 2. I think my first number is x equals 8. How would I find another number? Plug it in. Good. So 8 plus y equals 12. Therefore, what is y? Good. 4. How do you do the check? Well, what is 8 plus 4? That is 12. And what is the second equation? 8 minus 4. And that equals 4. And that is also correct. Then you will do number 2, similar to number 1. A school is selling tickets to a performance. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 3 senior citizens tickets and 1 child ticket for $38. The school took in $52 on the second day by selling 3 senior tickets and 2 child tickets. Find the price of a senior ticket and a price of a child ticket. What is the first thing you have to define? Good. So I want X to be what, Tate? Okay. And so by default, Y is the child ticket. Lakin, any idea how to set up that first one? 3 senior citizen, 1 child ticket, $38. Perfect. And you could put a 1Y if you wanted. How about if Hunter tells me if he knows how to set up the second sentence? Well, it's really the third sentence. Okay? Perfect. What would be the fastest way to solve this, Chloe? Elimination, substitution, graphing. Which one do you want? Okay. So I'm going to multiply this whole row by -1. So what is eliminated here, Kariah? Good. X is gone. 1 minus 2 is -1y. Bless you. And 38 minus 52 is -14. Divide by -1, and y is 14. Now, how am I going to get my X, Rachel? Bless you. Perfect, Rachel. So I think that we sold 8 senior citizens tickets and 14 child tickets. How do I check it? Good. Just plug them in both equations. First one worked. I go back to the original before I change the signs. Were we correct? What do you think? Now, there's only one that we haven't reviewed, and that is matrices. Do you have any idea how you would solve that little guy with matrices? Number 3. In matrices, if you remember, they must be in standard form. So to set this problem up, you would make a coefficient matrix 3, 1, 3, 2. You would make a variable matrix xy to multiply by, and would equal your constant matrix 38, 52. So if you were going to work this by matrices, that is the only one we haven't talked about today. They would first have to be in standard form. You would steal 3, 1, 3, 2, the coefficients. You would steal your variables xy, and you would steal your constant 38, 52. Now, to work this, you would then switch to calculator mode. And to move that equation across the equal sign, you would have to do the inverse. Remember that we need a 2 by 2. So you would have 3, 1, 3, 2. Inverse, because we moved it across the equal sign, times, we need a 2 by 1. Oh, I'm sorry. And that would be 38 and 52. And did that give us the same answer by matrices? What if it gave us a different answer? What would that tell us? Something was wrong. Good. So matrices, elimination, substitution, and graphing are your 4 choices to do these problems that we're going to work on. Let's see. What is the first thing you define in each one of the questions? X and Y. Good. Now let's jump back. For the people who were not in here, let them copy this Everyone else can work on the manufacturing question. I believe I have the key done, so you can come up and ask me questions. Just give me 1 minute to get this uploaded.